Right, we are back for day one of the Breeders' Cup. It's a brilliant race card. We've got plenty of bets lined up, so let's jump straight into it. But first, if you want to see my nap on the card, make sure to check out my most recent video where I've napped up a horse at 6-1 each way. It's now into 4-1 or 7-2 in places as well. Strongly supported, so make sure you check out that one first. But on to today's video. We'll run through all the grade ones, come in with a selection in each, and I've landed on quite a few at some very big prices, so hopefully we can have a little bit of luck in running and hopefully celebrate a nice big priced winner on day one, building the kitty for day two, which is always a little bit better when the older horses step out onto the track. But we'll start off in the 740, the juvenile fillies on the dirt, and atomically at 12-1 is a huge price. This horse has drifted out from about 8-1 to 12-1. I can't really understand why. She's done absolutely nothing wrong in her first three starts, like so many of them, admittedly, but she's really been suited by the step up in trip. She made a debut over 5 furlongs at Gulfstream, was a little bit outpaced but showed enough speed that you knew she was going to get better, and the step up in trip, the extra emphasis on stamina has just brought about so much improvement. She won a pretty weak race second time out, but it was more style than substance, and then she was up to the mile for the first time and in a grade one as well, and she absolutely romped home. She won it by a country mile. She beat the second called Lynx, is a very good horse that was odds on and unbeaten heading into that race, and this horse showed so much mid-race speed, and sometimes when they kind of kick early before they get out of the final turn, they can flatten late home. She certainly didn't. She was under pressure for a good 2.5 furlongs, responding all the time and pulled clear to win. She also didn't have the best of starts and was drawn wide, so to do what she did in that race given the circumstances, that was an unbelievable performance. Louis Saez takes the ride, drawn in stall 8, which isn't too bad, I don't think, especially because the pace will probably come from stall 10 in the form of the favourite Chocolate Gelato. Hopefully atomically can tack in behind, track the pace, and if she can take it up with 3 furlongs to go, she might be able to ground these into submission. And at 12-1, she looks a rock solid bet. I can really see her running a big race. She's a horse that you'd go to war with. You'd really trust her to run her race, I should say, as opposed to a few of these in the race that might be a little bit delicate as juveniles. Onto the 20 past 8, which is the same race as the one before, just over the turf, and the UK and Irish horses usually have the advantage here, and I'm going to stick with the Aidan O'Brien trained Meditate, who hasn't really done much wrong this season. She won her first 4 starts and then was beaten at the Curragh by Tahira, who was apparently an absolute worldie. She looked so impressive that day. Then she dropped back to 6 furlongs and was just touched off by Lazoo in the Cheveley Park. That wasn't a bad run at all. I think Lazoo is probably one of the best 2-year-old fillies definitely in the country this season. She won the Group 1 at the end of the season to prove it. So if Meditate can get close to Lazoo, then she can definitely run very close in this. I assume the big question mark will be the step up in trip to the mile, but it is a very sharp track. If Ryan Moore can just kind of get her in the box seat, she might be able to keep on rolling and see out the mile trip. It probably will be on her limit, but I just think she's got so much quality. I'm not too convinced by many of the American challengers in this either. I think it will be going to UK. Pleasant Passage is probably the American one that I would fancy the most at an each way angle. The other English rider is Midnight Mile for Richard Fahey. That horse has won 2 out of 2. She looks to be quite impressive, but I just think Meditate's form is on another level to what's on display here, and at 3-1 in the market would be the bet for me. On to the next race, the 9 o'clock, and it's another one that I like at a very big price, probably one of my biggest priced fancies on the day, verifying Brad Cox, Joel Rosario, I should say. They have a very good striker when teaming up. This horse was pretty impressive on debut over 6 furlongs and then ran at Belmont at the Big Air, and the track was just It was covered, the track was labelled as sloppy, it definitely was too far, too close to the pace early on. There was a pace collapse, and Blazing Sevens, who reopposes the day, came over the top to win. One going away, but was probably flatter just because they went so hard early on, and this horse came from off the pace. Blazing Sevens is 15-2, Verifying is 20-1. There's no way that there should be this much of a price difference in this race. Verifying at 21 has only had the 2 starts as well, as opposed to Blazing Sevens having the 3 starts. I think Verifying's open to much more improvement. Might be given a little bit of a colder ride today. Is drawn well in stall 5, just next to Blazing Sevens actually. And I just think, just purely between them 2 horses, Verifying is way overpriced at 20-1. I think the favourite Cave Rock probably should go and win this for Bob Baffert and make it 4 wins out of 4, but at any triangle, Verifying at 20-1, that is definitely the value in this race. There's quite a few horses which shouldn't be getting involved at all. There's about 4 or 5 at the bottom which are huge prices, which means there's about 5 horses which probably do have a chance of placing. Verifying can run well, might not run into a place, but is definitely going to finish in the top 4 or 5 in this if we're lucky and he turns up. We could have a big run here, maybe even a win. I think this horse has a lot of natural ability. Apart from the favourite, there's not too much else in it as well. So Verifying at 20-1 for me. On to the last race on the card, and I fancy an even bigger priced one's Really Good, who's running in the black silks. The yellow cap reminds me of Stradivarius a bit. Hopefully he'll have a little bit more pace than Stradivarius, as Really Good is running over the mile today, but definitely has a chance of running into the frame again. I'm not convinced by Silver Knot, trained by Charlie Appleby. I just think he doesn't have the pace for this. He won over a mile last time, but was given a really good ride, and the second was kind of in need of experience, has only had the 1 start before that, the John and Thady Gosden trained Epicitis, and I just think Silver Knot was the most streetwise out of a bad bunch of horses. Not a bad bunch of horses, just horses that didn't fully know the job. Silver Knot definitely did, and won a Group 3 just at the end of the day, was given a very good ride, and some of the other horses didn't have the clearest of passages, so I'm not totally convinced by Silver Knot. Neither am I convinced by Victoria Road, who drops back in shape after staying on very strongly. Shanty on softer ground over a mile and a furlong. I just think that some of these horses don't actually want the faster ground, which interests me as to why they're running here. The UK and Irish horses, they're going to be taken on by Really Good, whose last run was a very good 3rd at Keeneland as well, over course and distance, and again didn't have the best runs, was drawn in stall 10, and when you're drawn that wide you just never really can get a good trip. Tyler Gaffalione had this horse about 4 wide the full way, kind of made a big mid-race move around the outside, had to come about 6 or 7 wide into the straight. You're never going to win that. The winner and the winner list came from well off the pace as well. Really Good probably did a little bit too much too soon. A patient ride today, drawn in stall 7, and I think this horse has a decent chance of running well at 40-1. I'd be surprised if it did place, in all fairness, but as each way shots go, as 40-1 shots go, this probably isn't the worst one of all time. So that's all from me, all the good ones talked through. They're my selections on the day. Don't forget to check out my recent video with the nap as well. But that's all from me. Hopefully I'll be back for day 2 with a little bit more money than I'm starting off with now, and hopefully we can have a very good Friday and Saturday. And again, it is some beautiful racing. Do let me know your nap in the comments down below. I'd be very interested to hear, am I completely off on this one or not? We will find out eventually, but thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for Saturday's selections.